Welcome to the Spike Camp podcast. Spike Camp is a free online community for hunters that support conservation. It's a great place to share stories and your experience with other hunters. As a member of Spike Camp, you get access to all of our hunting live streams, discussion channels, contests, hunter resources, and events that we host. Membership to Spike Camp is free. Our only ask is that you are a member of a hunting or conservation group before you register. Head over to spikecamp.com to join us. This episode of the Spike Camp podcast is brought to you in part by Frontiersman Gear. Frontiersman Gear was founded to build products for those people that are seeking true adventure in their lives. High quality, handmade knives and leather goods that are built right here in Canada with a lifetime warranty. Made by hand and built to use. Visit frontiersmangear.ca to see their available products and learn more.
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Ram Down series. A couple weeks ago, I stumbled onto a video on YouTube called the Airborne Ram, produced by a young man by the name of Axel Lubeck. Immediately after watching it, I think I barely hit stop on YouTube. I had reached out to Axel on social media, I think on Instagram, introduced myself, told him a little bit about Spike Camp. He responded right away. We jumped on a phone call in the next day or so, talked for an hour, and booked this live stream. And here we are. Axel, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for introducing me to Spike Camp. I really love what you guys got going on here, and I think it's really exciting.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we're very happy with the way the Spike Camp community has grown. It's I think I told you on the phone, it's just full of fantastic people and growing constantly. And since we announced your show, it's grown quite, or the membership's got a little bump. So we've got some Axel fans in the midst here. So I think I mentioned to you as well, our shows have a maximum time of 2 hours, and I think we could probably kill at least 2 hours talking hunting and jumping out of planes and stuff, but we're going to try and get as much covered here tonight as we possibly can. So I would encourage folks, just if you have a question, drop it in the chat. We'll do our best to tackle them head on as we see them. And if I miss one, I apologize. I'll try to circle back towards the end of the show. Axel's going to try and keep an eye on them too. And we'll try to answer as many as we can as we go. So first off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, how you got into hunting and that kind of stuff.
Well, I basically won the lottery and got to grow up in Worsley, Alberta. So it's I live on the Peace River now in Taylor, so just downstream inside Alberta. Really rural community, about 50 people in the town, 100 kids in the school, and hunting was definitely a way of life. There wasn't much skill that I can remember. I'd say like half of what we hunted was probably just, on foot or on the quad from home. We do a little bit of jet boating and a little bit of driving around, but like I don't remember playing the win game once. We just kind of, wandered around and stumbled into things. A lot of elk, a lot of moose was kind of, our thing. And, back then when I was a kid, elk was on draw, and now it's, they're giving away tags left, right, and center. So we saw them do pretty good. I remember like being a kid on the farm, early September, we would bugle elk right into the yard. Never during daylight hours. After last light was always when that happened, but I didn't know then like how good I had it. But yeah, I shot my first bull when I was 12 or 14. I don't remember when, half mile from the house. I was by myself. I just said, "Oh, hey, Dad, can I go for an elk hunt?" And I was back 20 minutes later with like eyes this big and had one on the ground. And yeah, I just didn't know how lucky I had it. And like, we'd be sitting on the couch sometimes and you'd hear bang, smack. And, sure enough, it'd be a neighbor or a cousin would have shot something and they'd have it over at our house and we'd be doing the thing. So I was pretty lucky to grow up in that community where everyone knows everyone and everything about them. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Peace Country is it's just different. It's its own little world within British Columbia, and until you've spent some time there, you don't really realize it. You know, it's like BC is this amazing province. We've got all these different regions and areas, but you get into Peace Country, and it's just a whole new animal. And most of the Peace residents don't want all of the rest of us to know how good you guys have it, but I've discovered it. I've discovered it, and just in the last year or two, I've started spending a lot of time up there and I absolutely love it. And I love the people, and it's just a fantastic. I'm jealous, man. Like you did have the world by the tail as a kid growing up that loves hunting, right? So,
Yeah, no, I was pretty lucky, and yeah, I pretty much just had plenty of leash growing up. Like I don't remember any restrictions at all. It was like constant grouse hunting, or work was easy to come by. I had a good job like 3 miles from the house, and
mhm.
yeah, that was pretty much like growing up in Worsley. It was a
Okay.
ton of fun.
So, I mean, you're a young guy. When did you decide that the military was something you wanted to pursue? How old were you?
Oh, as early as I can remember, man. I think like a lot of kids like me, there's just something about soldiering that just captures kind of some demographic of young men. And, back then I was a pretty small kid, like stature wise. And
Hmm.
this is like '06, '05. I was like a teenager, and like the war was burning super hot. I've always been like very historically literate, and I understood, what was going on over there was like quite significant. So like it was pretty much like that was the goal, was to get in the army as fast as possible and become a paratrooper, like as
Wow.
early as I could. Like I sent my paperwork in like a week or two before my 17th birthday, like with my parents' consent. I said, I'm dropping out of high school. Like, you can't stop me. Like, I'm joining the army. Like, we are in a war. Um, like, like
Wow.
this is what a guy's supposed to do. So definitely felt pretty duty bound back then, and I just understood the significance of it. And it's not that I wanted to leave. I just wanted to go. I just didn't want
Wanted
to
to
miss it.
serve. Yeah, you wanted to serve your country.
Yeah.
So, what was that journey like for you? So you signed the papers, and what happened next? Like, where did you go for training and your first posting assignment and all that?
So it was about a 6-month lag time from the time I signed the paperwork and went to Quebec, which is Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, which was where the basic training happens. So I was about 17 and a half. It was October, so it was just kind of getting fall time. And I was a nervous kid, and they fly you out east, and you do, back then at least, you did a 3-month basic training, all the
Hmm.
basics of, what it takes to be in the Canadian Armed Forces. And that was a great, great time. All I really remember was being hungry and tired, because I was,
Hmm.
growing at that age.
Sure. Yeah.
And I signed on a signaler contract. So I was going to be a radio operator. And
Hmm.
after there, you kind of go through some, odd training courses that you need, such as a driver course, your battle school or your soldier qualification. So things like, being able to drive the vehicles that they would need you to drive, and machine guns and grenades and all the basic stuff, which was just obviously for a 17-year-old kid
Oh
heaven.
yeah. No
And
kidding.
my first posting was in Edmonton, so I was back to Alberta, which was great. And I was at one headquarters in Signal Squadron, which is where I met Pierre there in the chat.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was pretty chill, not what I was anticipating for the army. Like it was a lot of like setting up headquarters tents and
Hmm.
just kind of being that communication link between the brigade staff and the forward elements. So it was okay. It wasn't quite the adventure I was looking for. And luckily enough, I got to 3rd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, for kind of the last 2/3 of my 7 years in the army.
Hmm.
And like that was pretty legit, man. It was
Hmm.
some good fun. I did miss the conflict. I didn't know how naive I was wanting to be part of that. So I was a total like peacetime warrior.
Okay.
But I was fortunate to be trained by those men who just were fresh off the boat, and they were the real deal.
Wow. That's exciting. So you said you did 7 years in the military?
Yeah,
Your-
that's right. So
career?
2010 to 2017.
Okay. And then, all right, so you get out of you get out of service, move back. So now your family's in BC. They're out of Alberta and on the BC side, Taylor now?
No, so everyone's just on the Alberta side of the Peace
Okay.
Country.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
live in BC now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So
okay,
yeah,
good.
I did quite a bit of jumping in the Army, and that was like, the goal
Yep.
prior to getting into the Army was to become a paratrooper, and just did a ton of jumping. And so when I got out of the Army, that was pretty much what I was into. So I built a van, I put a bed in it and all that sort of stuff. And I
Mhm.
kind of bounced between working for my cousin, who's an outfitter in northern BC. So
Yep.
basically, I would take that van up north and I would go guide full seasons for him. And then I'd take that tip money and run down to California and just skydive until I'd spent it all. And then
Wow.
I'd go work an odd job until guiding season started up again. So I did that for a couple years post Army. It was kind of what I was
Nice.
into.
So just living your best life. Like I can imagine, right? Young guy, go guiding for fun, like you said, take that tip money and then just jump out of planes. So Pierre kind of prompted a question, your buddy there. How many jumps do you have under your belt now?
Right around 720, I think. Yeah.
Wow, good for you. That's a lot. Holy shit, that is a lot. Wow.
Pierre has
That,
more.
does he? He's
Yeah, he
legit, is
does.
he? Yeah. Awesome. Pierre, how many? You can type that in if you want. You can let us know.
So
Oh,
Pierre and I jumped.
898. Yeah.
Pierre and I jumped in the Army together quite a bit.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to skip ahead for a second, but a lot of your buddies are smoke jumpers, right? Guys that you had on your team there for Airborne Ram. Were you a smoke jumper as well? Did you do that?
I was, yeah. That was kind of like once I realized that the Army was changing and it was time to get out, like that was the next goal.
Okay.
I didn't get into wildfire right away when I left the Army. I wanted to go be a hippie. But that was always kind of like in my gun sights, from the moment I left the Army. It also helped that the smoke jumper base was in Fort St. John. So,
Nice.
Here was an opportunity to go to a jump unit that jumped in the wildland, which was also close to my hometown. So when I found out that it was a thing, I was pretty keen to take part in that.
Nice. Oh, awesome. So that sets the stage for your mission with Airborne Expeditions. So let's talk a little bit about your guiding background. So how many years did you? I'm presuming do you still guide up north too? Are you still doing that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I do. I've done 8 seasons. This was my 8th season, starting in 2017, and I think I took 24 off. But yeah, it kind of goes back to growing up in Worsley. My cousin, who was always into guiding and outfitting. I would go to these family events, and he would bring these picture books, from the areas where he worked. And being a kid that was into hunting, I was just fascinated. I'd never, I was just thinking, like, what world do you live on, dude? Like, what are these creatures? I'd never seen anything like it. And we always kind of kept in touch on the phone over the years. So when I did get out of the Army, that was like the first place that I went, because there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for me to hunt when I was in the Army, just because of exercises and such. So yeah, I mean, I showed up there in 2017 with a chip on my shoulder, tough Army guy, so I thought. I started at square one again, and I learned a heck of a lot. And I thought I knew a thing or two, about packing heavy bags and marching all night, and I thought I was tough,
Sure.
but it was a whole other world. And my cousin runs a damn good crew, and they're all really good teachers. And went on my first sheep hunt in 2017. So I mean, back then, like, for reference, I thought sheep had bad eyesight. Like, that's how little I knew.
Wow.
At that time. Like, I'm talking like ground zero.
Green.
Very green. Yeah, for sure. And of course, hunting with my cousin, who's like part sheep, like, I
Mhm.
thought sheep hunting was easy,
Mm.
because we did get success. And he sent me off with his in-laws, which were also outfitters, and they were kind of like my guide school. That's Love Brothers and Lee.
Oh yeah,
So
big name.
they've
Yep.
that was a real privilege to get to work for Ron and Brenda.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I could fill a podcast or a book with what I learned from them.
I bet
And
you could. Yeah.
I got to go on a grizzly bear kill, and I got to observe another. It was the last year of the grizzly bear hunt.
Mm.
So that
Wow.
was like pretty special. Our grizzly kill was pretty Western, and
Was it?
it all worked out. And yeah, just kind of kept going back year after year. And once I started getting involved in fire, it kind of shrank the season to just the moose season.
Yeah, I suppose, right? Because it overlaps and yeah. So when you said you went on your first sheep hunts with your cousin, were you were you on a personal hunt with him, or were you guiding and assisted guiding with him on those hunts?
I was just straight up packing and learning.
Okay. Right. So
Yeah.
he had a client and you were kind of observing along. So when did you start sheep hunting for yourself?
My first sheep hunt for myself was that bighorn there, and I took him. I was still an Alberta resident at the time in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. No, correction. I took him in 21, and my first attempt was in 2020.
Okay. So as far as thin horns go in BC, when did you start sheep hunting here personally?
That was 23, the first
Okay.
airborne expedition. Yeah, it was
Oh
my first
wow.
stamp.
So that was your first go was, well, why do it easy? Why should I try a jet boat or walk off a highway? I'm just going to jump out of a plane because that's what I know, right?
Yeah, well, and I'd been on like at least 5 or 6 stone
Real
hills
sheep
at that
hunts, yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just
yeah.
teasing you, man. No, I get it. Yeah, yeah. So you got hooked. You got hooked as a packer. You saw what this was all about, and you're like, oh yeah. Lots of time probably thinking about how you could do this on your own at some point, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the outfit I worked at, I mean, it's just, I can't overstate how much fun it was. And, I was able to kind of, guide, for myself, or as the guide. I think in 2018 was when I first started like being the guide, and that was just for moose hunts and stuff. And
Nice.
I just fell in love with it. It's just like, it's a great job. And that's awesome.
Yeah, that is so cool. So the question for you then, with regards to your military background, what you talk about how they're the same, but there's some differences there. What would you say? What was something that you learned in the military that you carry with you today in the mountains as a sheep hunter? Like whether it's attitude, skills, whatever. Is there something that you think is like, oh yeah, these two are lined up?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with the boys kind of after our last expedition there. Like obviously we're out there to have fun, and like we're out there to have fun for sure, but the level of professionalism, that I, got to witness and be a part of at that battalion, I haven't seen anything like it, before or since. These guys were gods to us kids in terms of just like, just the absolute attention to detail, the discipline, the integrity, the duty, all that stuff really set the bar high. And when I mean I hadn't seen it before or since, like it's the standard that is almost unattainable. And I definitely like try to at least aim for that, in terms of sheep hunting or with airborne expeditions, knowing I may never hit that, but you got to have goals, right?
Sure. Yeah. And do you think that that's because of the level of risk involved with being a paratrooper, that standard is just automatically gold medal level? You think that's why?
Yeah, well, it has to be, right?
Has to be. Yeah,
And
there's
not
no
only,
room for error.
no, not at all. and I mean, like, also there's that, and there's, you know, in a military setting, you know, there's pride in that beret, that maroon beret that you wear on your head. Like, that really means something. Like, I remember the first time I saw one, you know, as a kid, I'm like, that's a real paratrooper, you know, and like, you put that on your head, man, like, you know, you better act like it.
Wow. Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I couldn't agree more. I think you look at if you can carry a high standard in what you do at all levels, it's gonna filter through to the success that you have, whether it's like field success or safety or, you know, getting, like, call it a mission. Your mission is to jump out of a plane, land on that particular drop zone, climb these 3 mountains, hunt for a week. If you have to check all those boxes in order to get it done. And yeah, it's fascinating to me that, yeah, this whole project. So um okay, well, let's talk a little bit about airborne expeditions. I want to dig into your first trip, mission 1, like I did when I was chatting with you on the phone. When did you really decide this is something you want to do? I know it took you, what, 18 months of planning on the first one. What was the motivation to do this? And talk to us a little bit about how that 18 months of planning went.
I remember right where I was. It was kind of between smoke jumping seasons. It was right when the Freedom Convoy was going on. It was February of 22, and I remember that because I was sick with COVID in a hotel room. I was traveling with my girlfriend, and it was very clear to me that it was likely that I was going to be promoted to a crew leader in the smoke jumping unit. So now I was without a goal. You know, so like my goal had been become a paratrooper, did that. Now it was become a smoke jumper. Now all of a sudden it was clear that I was going to become a crew leader. I needed another goal. So that's actually kind of what started it. And then I was like, and like I said in the video, you know, to jump into a hunt, it really wasn't my idea. This is something that's been thought of by guys for a long time. And I know how I landed on it. You know, I'm thinking like, oh, I need a new goal. I'm like, like it's time that I take something like that on. So I was sick, and I just pulled out some maps, and I started going through them and looking at areas. And that's when it began. And I started combing old hunting books, to be honest with you. I kind of had an idea in the Northern Rockies of where I wanted to go. And then I started finding like old books that outfitters had wrote about those areas. And I just started, you know, reading them. And, you know, then looking through pictures, and then Google Earth, and then, you know, figuring all that out. And then once I had a spot in mind and, you know, Google Earth it to death, I started thinking logistics. You know, how am I going to get an airplane? You know, what gear am I going to use? How am I going to get enough rafting experience that I'm going to survive the endeavor? How am I going to procure the equipment? So once I decided, it all became really easy, because then it just becomes like a checklist. You know, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah, for sure. You referenced books, and your buddy Pierre and one of our Spike Camp members are popping in with a question about the books. There's some pretty good books written by outfitters, legendary outfitters that live in the North. Some had lived, and you're very close to where you are. Which books were you reading? What were a couple of titles that come to mind?
Horseshoe in My Hip Pocket is like a must read. Pierre, I'll mail you one of my copies if you want. You know, these are just great adventure books. There's no such thing as can't. You know, that's another great one. A Man Named Red.
Red
That's
Sorensen.
another good one.
That's a fantastic book. Yeah, I recognize all these books. Sorry, that's one of my favorites.
They're fantastic. I would say Horseshoe in My Hip Pocket's my favorite, but you know, most people write books to sell books. Bob Jost wrote that book because he lived such a crazy life. It would be a crime not to write a book. You know, you can tell that was his motivation, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, that's cool. What was I going to say next? Yeah, so the expedition gets lined out. You've got the plan. Walk us through it. How did you get started?
Well, so it's basically just that, like, just working through logistics. The big, you know, why factor was, how do I procure a plane and convince them that I'm of sound mind? You know, that was that was definitely
Walk
that
in the
was
door of a
challenge.
charter and go, hey, I got an idea.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
So like that was like, honestly, that was the big barrier. So naturally I started looking at Villers. They had this beautiful Islander twin engine, has a stall speed of like 50 or 40 knots. Just a perfect jump platform, super stable, good STOL aircraft. So I did send out like an email, just kind of a feeler, and got a generic response back. And I made sure to wait to broach the subject with them in person until we as smoke jumpers were boosting Fort Nelson, because I wanted to meet them in person as a smoke jumper in uniform to give myself some credibility.
Okay.
Yep, there it is there.
It's a beautiful plane.
And so I walked across the tarmac. I should have been working, but of course I just like buggered off. Walked over there. The owner, Dan, was gone. The secretary called him. He came back and, he asked me about legalities. He's like, is that even legal? And I recited the Canadian aviation regulation to him, explaining that, as long as we're not over a built up area or in controlled airspace, like we're good to go. And, him and his staff kind of were talking with me, looking at the airplane, and it kind of was the beginning of a real cool friendship. They never questioned my motives. They just started asking questions. How are you going to get out? How are you going to do this? What and that was kind of the beginning of, a really cool friendship with them guys. And I iterated like, I will have to pay for this. And that includes practice jumps. Like I do understand that. I will find the money. And they were just like super cool. I'd go up there and, make sketches of doors and, just figure things out. And once I had that, man, like that was kind of locked down. And then my friend Max and I, so you probably see him in there at Golden Eagle. He's a smoke jumper as well. And this time he just got his pilot's license and he was getting ready to become a commercial pilot, and he had a 172. So prior to mission 1, I think it was June of 23, I brought a skydiver friend up to Fort Nelson. We did a training jump out of the Islander. We threw some cargo. We did a training jump, kind of worked with the pilot. And then we went up to Toad River, met Max, who was coming from Whitehorse, where he lives, with his 172. And then, man, we had just a perfect morning the next day to go fly the drop zone. So we were able to fly the river, scout the drop zone from the air, get photos of literally everything. And then once that successful flight was done, we just continued on with our raft training. Of course, I'd been doing raft training throughout the preparation, but, I was actually getting to raft on those northern rivers for the first time. And yeah, so I got some experience there. So there was a whole, week of pre-training before that mission 1. And that's when all these like parts were coming together. Of course, even before that, I was manufacturing cargo parachutes and building crates, and, it was countless hours of rigging, my personnel parachute and my cargo parachutes.
Yeah. I mean, you're going through a gazillion of the questions I had for you, which is fantastic, because there's just so many things that you have to consider to pull this off. And this is not even like, you haven't even started mission 1. Like, for example, here's a picture of one of your cargo crates, right?
So that's my rifle and my food on mission 1. I'd already thrown my first one that had my raft and my bag in my glass at that point.
So this is mission 1. There's 2 things left to drop out of the plane: your crate and then you, right?
And at this point, I've already dropped 1 bundle.
Okay. What's going through your mind here, Axel, at this point?
There was so many questions going into this, man. Like, the smoke was a real dark cloud hanging over me. So there wasn't much like fear of how is this going to go. I was sure that, given the weather opportunity, it's going to go well. But we had been delayed multiple days. But now we're in there, we have visibility to jump. Like I'm like pure bliss, pure heaven, ecstasy, whatever you want to call it. Like this is not getting called off. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is something that is actually, I'm in the middle of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just grinning from ear to ear,
You
like
sure
going
are.
like, hell yeah, like nothing stops this train.
Yeah, because shit's getting real right now, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, your family and friends, girlfriend, if applicable, what about them as far as when you spring this idea on? It's like, oh, so yeah, I was thinking I might do a sheep hunt myself this year. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. How are you getting there? Well, I'm just going to parachute in and float a river. How did that behind the scenes support network manage this whole project behind the scenes with you?
Well, it was just kind of so ludicrous that it's kind of like the only one who really understood it was Chelsea, who's a smoke jumper as well, my partner.
Okay, that
Like she
helps.
understood. Yeah, she understood what was happening. Like the family, they're kind of used to it at this point. Like, I mean, when I was in the army, dude, like I was jumping
Oh, I
all over the
bet.
continent, and like, and so the family kind of got sick of all this a long time ago.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, oh yeah, I jumped Parliament Hill, like it was so awesome. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like I'm working on a truck. It's
yeah,
kind
exactly. Yeah, I got a flat tire. I got to deal with Axel. Thanks.
yeah, it's kind of like becomes normal conversation at that point. But I mean, yeah, just it was so far out of everyone's realm. Like, I don't know what you make of it, really.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just curious because I know there most families have somebody in the family who's, you know, just maybe a little bit out there, has, different ideas than the rest of them. But I mean, you're talking about a whole new level. It's completely out there, which is awesome. So the solo mission, the nice thing is after this interview, for those that haven't watched it, they can just go and watch your show, and everything that I'm asking you is pretty well reflected in the film, which by the way is fantastic. Your narration of this film makes the difference. I mean, obviously the mountains sell themselves. Jumping out of a plane is a pretty cool thing. Killing a sheep is fantastic, but you guide us through this whole adventure, two adventures, which is great. But a couple questions for you on the first hunt, the first trip. So there's also the hunt side of things, and you reference this in the show. So you land, everything makes it safely. Now you're on the ground and you start your sheep hunt. What was that like? Tell us a little bit about, because I'm assuming this is your first ever solo sheep hunt period, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the mountains alone for like maybe a max of 2, maybe 3 days in my life at this point. So I had no idea how I was going to react. And I mean, it's interesting. Like, when you're out
Oh,
there by yourself like that.
solo hunts, especially a backcountry sheep hunt. My sheep hunting buddy Ed and I talked about this. It's like, going out for a night or two is one thing, but boy, when you're on a mountain by yourself, or you're in that country and you're sheep hunting, there's so many decisions. Every step is a decision. First of all, every mountain is a decision. Every sheep requires a lot of thought, a lot of examination and decisions. It's all on you. How did you manage that?
Um, I honestly, I just enjoyed it. Like I'm very comfortable
You
by
soaked it up.
myself, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love, my friends, and I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of great friends, but I am very comfortable by myself. But I was nervous. Like I had no idea. Like, was I going to hide my tent? Like was I going to just hunt one basin and like call it good? Like I had no idea. But I was just kind of overwhelmed, to be honest, with
Yeah.
how beautiful it was. And like, it was kind of just like being a kid in the candy store with one caveat. And that I said in the video my first night there, but I reread my journal and I was wrong. It was the second night I was there. So I get to the ground, collect my stuff. I hunt the basin close to the drop zone. And that's all good. and a storm comes in, and a really, really bad one. And that really put me in my place, for sure. It definitely knocked me down a peg. I'm like writing in my journal, okay, the storm's starting to roll, and I get in my tent, and I had moved my tent under a spruce tree, and like, of course, like it's a steep valley, so the sound echoes back and forth.
Yeah.
But it was extremely severe. Like it's raining through the tree, through my tent, like raining. I got a good MSR tent, and I reach out into my bag and I grab my bivy sack, and like the lightning is like burning my retinas, and I'm like hiding my eyes in my pillow like a little wuss, just like holding on, and the sound echoing off the valley is like rattling my organs. So that was like, that really put me in my place. And for the next couple of days, I heard a lightning strike, because it kind of lingered, and I would run undercover. But it was really something else. Like I remember when I reached outside to grab my bivy bag, it was like the sky was coming down.
Crazy.
Yeah,
those mountain storms, they're next level. You have to, I think anybody who's been in the north on a sheep hunt or any kind of, backcountry hunt, especially when you're in that summer, early fall, where you get all that crazy weather, certain parts of that country, you get that lightning storm. You get a lightning storm every afternoon, on some hunts in some areas. It's just like, it's going to happen. But when you get those type of storms, that's, oh man, so scary.
Yeah, I'd never, where I guide is it's in the Northwest. So like I'd never experienced anything like that before at all. So it put me in my place. But honestly, like barring that little drama, it was just like kid in a candy store. If grizzly bears didn't exist, like I wouldn't have had any cares in the world. Like, you think of where I am. It's like, there's nothing that's going to do you harm. It's middle of summer. It's never dark. Hardly. Like there's nothing bad is going to happen, like unless you come head to head and surprise a grizzly bear. Like and that was something that was going through my head a lot. Like it's like there's literally nothing to worry about. Like no one's going to tell me what to do. Like I just got to like wander around. So I honestly, like I just had the time of my life, just looking around,
awesome.
Looking for sheep. They get up at 4 a.m. and hunt, or sleep till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. It didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost a 24-hour day program, and you just pick the hours you want to be out there and go for it. So you got on a ram, a really nice ram by the sound of it, and walk us through that, because it's, again, you outline it in the show, but yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
So I got in there, I think it was the 29th of July. It was when I landed, somewhere around there. I think it was the 29th. And it was opening day that I found rams for the first time. So that was incredibly exciting. I was down in the valley bottom, and I'm just like eating jerky, just glassing all around. It was around 6 p.m. And then kind of over this ridge coming out of this basin, 4 rams came out. And I was about a mile away from them. And one was an obvious no-brainer, legal ram for sure. And that was really exciting.
I guess so.
It's like,
I guess so.
I came to the right place, So my intuition said, like, get your ass up there, get over the top and shoot that ram. But however, I was like, I promised everyone I was going to be safe. I'm going to think about this. And I should have probably thought about it a little harder. So I just kind of waited, which was the wrong decision. And I ended up going up there early the next day. Started out as a beautiful day, August 2nd. Weather came in and blew me off the mountain. And that yo-yoed like that for a couple of days, me trying to get into the mountain. And the big learnable there was I should have went around and looked into that basin and like camped there. That was not a thing that really crossed my mind due to inexperience. So that was like the big learnable there anyways. And
that's something that would probably have been discussed with a partner too, right? Because that's where that partner comes in. He's like, what about this idea? And you look at those ideas and go, yeah, sure. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, if someone would have been there and brought that up, I'd be like, oh, that's a good idea. But essentially with weather, I just kind of yo-yoed back and forth until I could get up there. And I got up there a few days later and ended up camping on the mountain, which was great. Like, it was one of those, I camped on just the only flat spot. There was like a good dribble of water so I could refill my Nalgene. And there was actually a horn, like an 8-year-old broomed horn there. So I named it Horn Camp, and went to bed, had a beautiful sunset, and woke to a beautiful sunrise, and went over on top of them, and was kind of setting up, like the gun was out, loaded, and I knew that they were just down there. And this 3-year-old, beautiful dark banana head come around this rock and like locked eyes with me, you know?
Yeah.
And we had a staring contest. I just reread it in my book here. I wrote down 2 minutes where I just like froze, and he actually kept walking. You know, we froze, he flinched, and he did the whole like look at where his buddies were. So I knew they were just there.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we've all seen this.
Yeah, exactly. He gave it away. And then he kind of actually kept walking up on me, probably got, I don't know, damn close, 15, 20 yards.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he spooked and he started chirping. And I'd never heard a stone sheep do that before. And it was almost like a bird chirp.
Really?
And
yeah.
And I don't know what that. Have you heard that before?
I have not. I've heard some weird noises, but and not a real chirp. But yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah, and of course they took off, and that was that. And I knew I was an idiot, and you know, but it would have been 2 trips to get the ram out of there. It was hot, so like I wasn't really exactly butthurt about it. You know,
Yeah.
like I was just lucky to be there.
Yeah. So I guess in retrospect for you, you know, just when you said that comment there, this was probably such a package deal as far as an adventure for you that, well, now I know I can do this. Now I can get in on rams. Now I've seen a legal one. Is this the point in time where Axel's decided I'm coming back with buddies? Or when did that happen? When did that like aha moment come into play?
That happened when I was camping out at the Toad River Lodge after the fact. Or no, it might have happened. It might have happened on the river, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It could have happened then. I don't remember exactly, but somewhere between that point and before I got picked up back at Toad River, I would have decided that this ain't over.
So I think one of the best parts of the film for me personally was that clip of you climbing out of your raft at the end, like at the end of the first trip, and you were like, you know, I can't remember your exact words, but something to the effect of this might be the first parachute solo sheep hunt float out trip, and it only matters really to me, or something like that. It was just an awesome line. I just like that really made the show right there. Like, you can tell, you could just see your sense of accomplishment and gratitude that you made it and all that stuff. So that moment must have been pretty cool, hey?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it really was. And I didn't include it in the film, but there's a canyon on that river that I planned on portaging around, and I just lost track of where I was, and I kind of got sucked right into it.
Oh, and, boy.
It really scared me. So I was pretty, like you say, just grateful to not only to have experienced it, but that I lived, you know?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Such an awesome thing to do by yourself. So now you get out and you're starting the plans for the second trip. So this was in 2023, and your trip obviously was 2025. So you've got some time in between these expeditions. Who was your first call when you decided to assemble a team? Who were you thinking of? You probably had a couple guys.
Well, it started before that. We had a friend in the smoke jumping unit who was from high places, let's just say that. And he was a big supporter of the expedition before it happened. So when I came out, he urged me to, obviously I wanted to make it a thing, but he encouraged me to do so. And he promised that he would help me out, which he ultimately ended up doing. So
Like
with
help you
his,
out financially with some investment behind you. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I was
yeah,
gonna say, this is
procuring the
not
gear.
cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, procuring the parachutes and the rafts, like and the tarps and all that stuff. So he urged me to do it. And then so my first call was a lawyer.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you, and I started papering things from that way forward, and started building, you know, manuals and stuff. And as boring as that sounds, it's proved to be extremely valuable that we did that, and create our own entity, you know, from the word go. And then my first phone call in terms of participants, well, I have to pull back, because in 24 we did do another operation. It just wasn't a hunting trip.
Okay. Yeah.
So in 2024, Golden Eagle, who's in the chat, Max Bouillon, we gathered some buddies and we went and jumped the Prophet River Hot Springs in July. So
Really,
you know,
wow.
to kind of, because it's actually pretty easy to go jump by yourself in terms of getting all your kit together. It's not that expensive. Like you can do it. That parachute gear cost me like $20 and a bottle of whiskey. Like it wasn't a big deal. So we now procured the gear, had to break it down and do something a bit more simple rather than now take a bunch of people, parachute them in and do a hunt. That would be a little bit too much. So we decided we'd go jump the hot springs on the Prophet. So that was 2024, and that was a smashing success. And so that was like the first time where I'm like dispatching my buddies in the backcountry, teaching them how to raft, you know, getting all that stuff together. So it was Max Bouillon, who is the same guy who flew me in on the reconnaissance flight in the 172. And Steve Clancy and Dawson Murphy. So we sent that load, and that was a great time. And then I started assembling a team for our return to the sheep hunting location there. And it was obviously I wanted to take Max Bouillon, but he was working, so I was begged Forrester to come. I don't know why, because he's a complete pain in the ass and he's totally useless in the mountains. But yeah, so I had to hassle him. I'm just kidding. He's great. So and then it was Liam O'Driscoll, who's here as well, and he was down right out the gate, and then we got Lee as well to come out. So it was pretty easy to. That's Lee there.
Okay. Yeah, he looks like he's enjoying himself. Tarps off, checking his gear and his kit all out there.
Oh yeah. So it was a lot easier to assemble a team once I had done it before, for sure.
Oh yeah, I bet. So then, obviously, you go through some more training with these guys. One thing you mentioned in your video is the guys on your crew were not really trained in the water aspect of this, right? How, was there a reason why they weren't? Like, were you trying to get them to train, or was it a timing issue, or you thought, no, screw it, we're going to learn this as we go, these guys can handle it? Which one of those choices was it?
It definitely would have been ideal to get them some training. It was definitely a calculated risk, but it was a big one. In the meantime, I went and I got my Swiftwater rescue training, and I went through Swiftwater rafting guide school, but it doesn't really forgo their lack of training. But it was just a lack of timing. The boys were jumping fires. Liam was living in Edmonton. So the intent was to go train locally in that area, like the days prior to the jump. But as it turned out, the weather was so good and the airplane lined up that we kind of had to go early.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it shaked out. And after doing the Prophet trip, I knew that I could train guys. I knew I could take it slow. And what that looks like in real life is teaching everyone how to stop, because anyone can hop in a raft and go down the river. The key is learning how to stop and being able to ferry across the river.
Sure.
So we did get to do some basic training before we went on a flat river. So things like re-entering your boat if you tip over.
Mhm.
Basics on how to blow up the boat, how to balance the boat, how to use a dry suit, how to avoid damaging things. Like all these things are like, we did get to cover those basics, but we didn't get to go run anything gnarly prior to the trip. So
Right.
that we did have to learn on the fly. But
Yeah.
they are smoke jumpers, and like they've been through worse. So just the onus was on me to just keep things slow and push them just a little bit. Kind of got to keep your foot on the gas, but not too much, and just read where they are.
So were these guys ex-military as well?
Yeah, Liam is an ex-paratrooper as well. Max Forrester served some time in the Royal Marine Commandos in England. And yeah, Liam's just a tough BC kid who's been smoke jumping a long time.
Okay. Oh, wow. Awesome. What a crew. It looked like that's also a really fun part of this film is the guys themselves, your crew. I mean, there's some hilarious stuff. Like, I wish this thing was 2 hours long and you put all the clips in, because there's some really funny shit, like the interviews and the stuff like that. Talking about the plan to go up in the morning and shoot the ram. And it's like, it's typical, guys being jackasses on a sheep hunt and just enjoying every minute of it, right? Like, it's just so cool. Yeah, it looked like it was a blast.
Oh yeah, we had a ton of fun. We really try and create an environment that's physically safe, but chirping is like definitely part of the airborne expeditions culture. And especially when someone brings up a good point, like especially when there's an obvious safety concern and it's like, hey, maybe we should think about this. That guy is chirped relentlessly.
Yeah,
and like that's just
it's on.
Oh man, it just the constant
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, so there's a plenty of stuff that I could not put in the film.
Oh, you could have. You just didn't. But yeah, depends what kind of professionalism you wanted in that film, right? That's the whole thing.
Precisely.
It's awesome. Like I said, I can't say enough about it. So your plan on this trip, was this an opener? The second one was opener as well. So you're in the middle of summer. Okay.
Yeah.
On the second trip, you talked a little there for a second about having some time in advance for pre-mission training. What was your total timeline that you guys had booked off? Because you got all these guys that are, I'm presuming, maybe family men too, and they got to get time away from wives, kids, girlfriends, work. Well, how long did you guys have set aside for this?
I think exact days was like 14 to 15 days. It was like they were missing 2 complete work weeks, so you had your weekends on either end. So I forget what that works out to, but yeah, 14, 15 days. And they were like coming, here where I am now, whenever they could, in the months and weeks and days leading up to it. I mean, Lee and I we were rigging parachutes and, fixing things in like March. I was building things in February, so they were here as much as they could. We're doing briefings and going over camera gear. There's a million things that need to be done. And yeah, so I think it was like their first day off, we were heading to Fort Nelson. I'm not sure on that. I might be wrong by a day. But there was a lot of preamble here, and we were, they're used to a different aircraft, so we're training on a plywood mock-up that I have and slightly different gear, so they're getting used to that and trying it on for the first time, sizing equipment, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I would say in total, from the time that the boys had off from work to the time that we jumped in was about 3 or 4 days. Because we had to go to Fort Nelson. There was some moving around with the airplane for our training. So we did some river training in Fort Nelson. And then we did a parachute event in Fort Nelson. And the following day, after our parachute training, we jumped. So we had to race to Toad River. We had to repack our cargo chutes. We had to pack all our kit. And we had to, get all that stuff together.
Wow. Crazy. So with regards to the team members themselves, You note this as well in the film. There's 3 experienced hunters and 1 basically rookie hunter, but very good, backcountry hardcore dude. My question for you with you, so you've got 4 buddies and yourself. That's right, 4. Was it 4 total plus you?
4
5?
total.
Yeah.
No, 4 total.
Oh, so 3 buddies and you. Okay. So, did you? I'm just curious. Is there like certain roles? Like obviously you're going on a sheep hunt, so there's going to be at least 1 shooter. Was there a plan to take more than 1 ram if there was an opportunity? Was that factored in?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Liam is an Alberta resident, so he was on shotgun duty.
Okay.
But yeah, Lee and Max had tags and rifles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outside of the hunting plan, then was there any like sort of expedition specific roles that each guy had on this mission? Because it sounds like you guys had this planned, like every detail. Like, did you say I'm bringing this guy because he's going to do this if we need it, or any examples of that?
Kind of. So for an operation like this, you need a spotter, which or a jump master, and that was going to be my role. And you want a jumper in command, and a jumper in command is the first guy out who's going to control the drop zone. He's the guy who's the most jump experience, who can talk to the pilot, who can make wind calls, who can lay out the tarp, who can give me, the spotter, and the pilot clear representation of what's going on the ground. So once he's on the ground, he's kind of boss hog. Okay. And then we get everyone to the ground safe. And so I was obviously expedition leader, and Forrester was second in command. If something happened to me, he would activate our emergency response procedure, which we obviously trained in and kind of got all that stuff lined up. And we tried to assign camera duties per day. Yeah. It was well intentioned. It kind of fell apart, and everyone just pitched in. Basically, everyone just did the best that they could. And past that, we didn't really have any really roles and responsibilities. Everyone just kind of fell into what they were good at.
Okay. Well, I'm going to roll this clip that you sent me of the jump and the landing. There's some fun stuff in here, and then feel free. You can jump in and talk about it if you want as we go. But I'm going to run this clip. I think it's a couple minutes long, so we'll show this because I don't know if everybody on the show tonight has actually seen your film. I know they all will after, but I'm going to run this, and there's some great stuff in here as well. Okay, if I can get my tech figured out.
Yeah, so there goes my Swarovski binoculars.
Yeah, that would have me very nervous right there.
Yeah, it's a new level of confidence.
Yeah.
So this is Forrester here. He's jumper in command.
Oh yeah, buddy! Down Valley View. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Oh! Yes, sir. Oh my God. The boys are in.
The boys are in.
Woo!
How does that feel, boys?
Oh, fucking incredible, dude. Brother.
Oh, that is so awesome, man. Oh my goodness. You can just feel the adrenaline there.
Yeah, we're having a good time. We're pretty tired too. Like I said, the lead up to it, this whole trip, was like on the red line from the word go, because the weather opportunity. Usually you're waiting on a weather window. Well, it was there at the start, so that kind of set the tempo right out the hop. And the pilot, God bless him, woke up at some ungodly hour early in the day so we could get that. I think he was landing in towed at like 7 in the morning or something. So he got up stupid early, got to work, and so thankfully to him, and that was a big deal. But it meant that we were kind of already tired by the time we got there. So we were all pretty excited.
Yeah, no, I guess. Yeah. And then now the work, you got to clean up that landing zone and cache your gear and, get everything put away. So that must have been quite the day. So, did you guys start your hunt the next day then? Or what was the plan? Like, how did it go from there?
Yeah, we pretty much just kind of chilled and enjoyed just being there. Like I said, we had our foot on the gas, so like it was kind of like, let's just enjoy this. Like we all worked very hard to be here, so we just kind of talked about what Airborne Expeditions was, what the opportunities are now, because we have a huge sense of accomplishment even at this point. And we kind of had the spot and scopes out, and I was telling them a little bit of the history and where I was last time I was here, and it was the next day that we started poking around and scouting and kind of going into the close basins, and there wasn't any sheep sign in those basins at all. Just
Okay.
tons of goat. But it was a good shakeout. We had to explain to Liam what he was looking for, and kind of go through all that. And then after that, it was pretty much game on, and we were hunting.
Okay, so of your experienced buddies, was there any guys that had taken stone sheep before? No. Okay, cool. So you're the only one at this point who's been on a successful hunt as an assistant guide or guide. So nobody else has actually got hands on a ram yet. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. No one's seen a ram. And like I said, Leon hadn't even been grouse hunting before.
Yeah.
And of course, I gave him an old shitty pair of binoculars that probably gave him a headache, and teach them how to spot and stuff. So yeah, no, it was a bit of a new experience for them for sure.
Nice. Well, one thing I did note too and not surprised by this at all, but just in your narration talking about the first few days of the hunt, you guys had broken into teams and were pretty strategic on how you were hunting the valley. And I guess part of that would come from you being there and knowing the country and the terrain. We talked about this on a couple of the podcasts that we've done already on the Ram Down series about what, if you invest in a spot for 2 or 3 trips, it really pays off and saves a lot of boot leather. So maybe you could walk us through. Let's talk about the hunt. I'm going to let you tell the story of the hunt at this point. So I'll let you do it.
Yeah, like and like I said, we went in that first basin, and I knew it was very unlikely that we'd find sheep in there because I'd been there before, but it was a good opportunity to shake out, get our gear kind of figured, and I did expect to find sheep, right away. So once we eliminated that first basin, kind of went to where I'd seen them last time, up valley a little bit, and obviously eliminating country as we went up there, but I kind of expected them to be further up. And I think we spent kind of the first 5 days of the trip not seeing any sheep at all. 4 or 5 days. They kind of went to where I'd seen them before, and not climbing too far up. Obviously, we're getting into the basins, but we're not committing to anything high, obviously, off the hop, and just poking around, eliminating country, and looking everywhere that I'd seen sheep before, because even in the first mission after I'd busted that ram, there was another basin I went in and I found sheep. So we're kind of checking all those spots, and then, you know, getting a bit more aggressive now, hunting a bit harder, and kind of like poking over ridges. And then finally, I think, 4 or 5 days in, like seeing our first ram. Lee spotted him actually. And it was one of those times, I'm sure you've been there, Chuck, where you spot a stone sheep and you're like, how am I ever going to find him again? Like,
Yeah.
like
you get a glimpse and you're like, oh shit. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
yeah, that's a sheep. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, where? And it was kind of at that point that we've seen that first banana head that things were changing. And we really kind of half the time we were split into teams. And Liam and Forrester had been kind of just meandering around this canyon and walked right into him, as you see there in the video. And of course they did an Aussie peel back and got out of there, and we basically yo-yoed with these 2 bands of rams over the next couple days. You know, we'd think that we had them pinned in a certain spot, so we'd start working it smartly, you know, to like get on them so we can age them and do it appropriately. But every single time they seem to give us the slip. And like,
you want me
like,
to roll
one day,
that? Do you want me to roll the video and you walk us through it? Just tell me when.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So your buddies get on them and they're pinned, right? This is kind of where this video starts, I think. Let's do that because that's pretty cool. I gotta navigate this share screen again. All right. Turn the audio on.
Sorry? No. I'm more worried when I'm snowing at this point.
There's that experienced hunter working the wind.
Yeah. Yeah, wind's blowing right up our arse there when I took that video of them.
Well, we did it. We didn't get it on film like we planned, but I've been hunting sheep a long time, and this was by far one of the wildest stalks. And there wasn't much time for cinematography. There was just time for making it happen. He's a beautiful, beautiful ram. I can't even begin to explain what it means to be holding him. Yeah, these animals truly are king of the mountain, and you only get a chance to harvest one when they make a mistake. And yeah, we're very lucky to be here. He took a hell of a tumble down this chute. Thankfully, he hung up here, and yeah, I think he's 9. We'll see what happens when we take him to the biologist. But he's just an absolute bruiser of a ram.
He sure is.
Yeah, it's so funny because this was like the same mountain I hunted when I did this trip solo 2 years ago, and up and down this mountain many times, and it's so funny to be back here 2 years later, and it all happened on the same mountain. And this might have been one of the ones that gave me a slip 2 years ago. So it's pretty special to be here, and pretty special to harvest an old bruiser like this. He's been in these hills a long time, and he's damn smart. So yeah, now the pack out begins and the raft out. He's the Airborne Ram.
Cool. So I apologize, Axel. I thought this clip, for some reason, I just watched your film again the other day, and I thought this was the clip where it showed your 2 buddies pinned down. So we jumped ahead a little faster than I wanted to there. Apologize about
That's
that.
all good.
Whoops. Hang on. Bear with me here. Okay. So, well, now we know. Beautiful ram down, by the way.
Thank you.
How you mentioned in the film that it was a close call for where he piled up versus where he could have gone. How did that look?
I mean, just lucky. It was honestly some poor shooting on my part. I really neglected, my marksmanship training with all the other stuff, which is no excuse at all. I had the time, I just didn't take it. So I ended up shooting him a little far forward and had to go around, and I got in a little too close on him, and it got a little western, and hit him a couple times, and he went like he was the Airborne Ram, like he
really?
flew.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it was just sheer luck that he hung up, because it was the last possible spot, and it would have been a pretty sad moment had he went, another 6 yards. It would have been all over.
Wow. So what, I'm curious, what were you shooting for a rifle? What's your rifle of choice in the mountains?
I just got a Tikka stainless steel 300 Win Mag. Kind of my do-all. I can beat it and mistreat it, and pit the barrel when I stand on a rock. So that's what I'm rolling with. Easy to find ammo. So that's I'm not much of a shooter. I'd like to get more into it. So it's more of a utility thing for me personally. But
yeah, I mean, that's the case. I mean, in my family, that's the way it is with Blake. The rifle is a tool that gets the job done. And for me, it's, guns are a big part of my life. But yeah, no, and it's funny. Everybody I talk to, when I ask that question, when I say, what rifle are you carrying in the mountains, I almost always expect to hear Tikka T3 stainless, because it seems it's probably the most popular rifle in the mountains, and rightly so. It's like you said, you can beat them up and they still do the job. So back to the sheep hunt. So what day was this? 5 or 6?
Yeah, we took the ram on, I believe it was the 5th of August. It was either the 4th or 5th. So this is the 6th or the 7th day of the hunt, which was our last full hunting day. Logistic weekend.
Yeah, you got to get out.
So we had been playing yo-yo with them for quite a while, and we had another storm event, kind of like my first hunt, which really, again, put us in our place and forced us to move around a bit differently. So it was our last opportunity, but it was just kind of one of those hunts too, where like I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
The boys were like, "Are you smoking, crack or what's going on?" I'm like, "No, it will happen, I assure you." And in the last day, they're like, "I guess it happens today then."
Yeah. So then did the chirping start about you picking it on the last day? Like, were they like all over you? Like, of course you had to do it on the last day.
No, they had plenty of ammo with my poor shooting.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. You probably heard about that for a while, I guess, but during processing, during packing, I could just hear the jokes now.
Oh, and I still will for forever.
Yeah, that's the fun of it though. So ram down, a beautiful ram, by the way, 10-year-old. He looks like an absolute warrior. Was there any other notable rams with that group, or was he the boss, lead ram?
On that day, he was just with the banana head that ended up busting us. So it seemed like there was 2 bands, and there was definitely more mature rams that I didn't see. Max and Liam had seen them.
Okay.
Well, I kind of saw the tail end of one of them at another time, but I never got a good look at the other probable legal or close to legal rams. But that day, he was alone with a banana head, and they were together when we spotted them. We made the stalk, and during that stalk, they'd split up, and he bedded down, and that's where that young one had got on us again.
Wow. So this is like the best part of a hunt, right? The ram is down. You get to them. You guys do your pictures and high fives, process them, and the PACA. What was the PACA like? So was the whole team with you at this point?
Everybody it was just Max and I.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And so then obviously the other guys know. What's the plan then? You're going to rendezvous back at the river at the main camp, or what was the plan at that point?
So basically what happened was Max and I started processing, and then Liam and Lee packed up our spike camp and headed back to the drop zone.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that was kind of the plan. Like they're gonna gather all our camp, because Max and I went up the mountain like absolute light, like dropped literally everything. So they had to pack all our junk back to the drop zone. And I think we would have got back, like killed the ram like 5-6 o'clock, and we got back to the drop zone around midnight. And I think the boys had beat us just long enough to get tents set up and find the box of beer we dropped.
Nice.
And like I say, this was the last hunting day, and it was because we did factor in kind of a camp getting things organized day. So
sort of a buffer day just to get ready.
Yeah, and like we were pretty haggard. Like we were giving it all the gas we could, and knowing that we would have to take a down day prior to our departure, because it was going to be a lot of effort. So that worked out really nicely. So we drank all the beer we had, got a pretty good buzz going. And then, so we were a little bit overwhelmed the second day. It's a nice thing about parachute ops. You can throw, you're not carrying.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we did that. And then the next day was just kind of prepping our kit and obviously caping and salting the ram.
Okay.
And, cooling down the meat the best we could. And then the following day, we began our 3-day exodus.
Yeah, it was warm. We were in that sort of same time frame with our sheep, and it got really hot later in that week. Like it was, you're touching 30 degrees in some spots, and meat care, cape and hide was certainly an issue for sure. So did you have the big sheep ribs on the fire? Did you get that done up there?
No, I wrecked the ribs when I took them.
Oh, back to the shooting again?
Yeah.
Okay. That happens. All right. Well, tell us about the extraction, the float out. One of the questions I had, I think you said something, you referenced controlling boats that weigh 275 pounds. And I'm assuming that's a rough kind of guesstimate on weight, but including the hunter and then gear. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with all the meat and everything. So it was the first travel day. Was the first section of river is unraftable. It's like, waterfalls and big boulders. It's just, you don't want to mess with that. Naturally, there's a horse trail there. So we have two gear moves to do. We have to pack our red flight boxes that have our raft, and all our parachute gear and some other odds and bobs. So we get that as far as we can. We have to hike back, get our hunting gear and our sheep, go back. And so we're shuttling gear at this point. And that was about I think an 11K portage with a river crossing. So that first day we're bumping gear down, back, bumping gear, crossing the river. And then that was the day, basically. And then the second day was more of the same, shuttling gear, a little bit of rafting, and then another portage around some more gnarly stuff. And then, which is a pretty big effort by everyone, with all the doubling back, because now it triples your distance, of course.
Sure. Yeah.
So then the third day we began rafting. And now we had a clear shot of river to kind of go for it from there.
So that rafting day, was it a 1-day shot, or did you have to camp along the way?
It was a very big rafting day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it's very different than any sort of, like, I guess, conventional rafting. Like, you're very much rafting with a purpose. Like, I'm sure that there is, whitewater enthusiasts that watch our video and just cringe, because we have packs strapped to our back, which is like not cool, but it's really our only option. You can't fit packs inside the boats. So it's a different style of rafting. You are doing it for a purpose, And by that point, like, the guys got to get back to work, we're out of food. We got to hustle. So that last rafting day, I think we started at 9 o'clock and we rafted all day, like straight till 6 o'clock.
Wow. Must have been, that would be grueling, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow. And then picked up, somebody waiting for you at the end with a truck, I'm hoping.
Nope. So we pulled out just short of the canyon that I mentioned during mission 1. I didn't know that during the first mission that there was a road above there. So that's where we pulled out. We experienced a dry suit failure in Lee's dry suit. So he's getting pretty uncomfortable at this point. We get above the canyon to where we're like 300 meters, from the road, and kind of get Lee starting to warm up, and Max runs back to Toad River to go get a truck. So he had an 11 or 13 kilometer run he had to do to go get us booked into the lodge, get us some food, and get some ice for the meet, and meet us back where now, because Lee's now just warming up in a sleeping bag, and Liam and I are shuttling the rest of the gear, that 200-300 meters, whatever it was, to where the truck could get to, and one more river crossing yet again.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah.
So just imagine being the clerk at the Toad River Hotel, and this dude comes running in. He's like, "Can I get a room? Yeah. Do you have a vehicle?" No. Well, it's sort of. I just ran 11 kilometers, and I've been on a pack raft for the last 10 hours with a sheep and a bunch of buddies. That was after we jumped out of a plane a week ago. Yeah.
Well,
insane,
luckily we've made some friends at the Toad River Lodge, so I was able to in-reach them and get a room booked. Yeah. And the restaurant was closed, but they made us food anyways.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable, the whole story. And I'm so glad we got to unpack all this stuff. There's just a million questions. And where are we at? Oh yeah, we're about an hour and 25, almost an hour and a half in. Well, so you're back to civilization. You've got your sheep, you got your buddies out safely, which is the most important thing. I'm going to ask for some conclusions. I think it certainly helped you having this be your second mission. So you knew some what not to do, what you need to improve on, that kind of thing. After mission number 2 with the whole team, was there any clear mistakes that you guys made that you're going to remedy for mission 3, 4, and 5? Was there anything that was like, we got to do this?
Yeah. The big one is, with the dry suit failure, the learnable there is that, a wetsuit would have been a low weight penalty to carry, and would have now made Lee a lot more comfortable. So that's something very cheap that we could add. We did carry an extra raft, and we did carry an extra paddle. We did not carry an extra something to keep someone warm. So that was like one of the big learnables. The other learnable was like, I will never camp in the Alpine and the Northern Rockies during storm season again, unless there's a cave adjacent that can house everyone. So we experienced some pretty bad storms up there that scared us senseless. So that won't do again. Those are the 2 big learnables, and the big point to sustain is, I have it written down here, overtraining is a myth. We must be trained thoroughly for extreme events, and we did train as good as we could. We trained as much as we could, and that paid off. Despite not having an opportunity to train everyone in depth on whitewater, we did what we could, and all that played out very well.
Yeah, I mean, you make an excellent point on the overtraining, and obviously it was a time factor for the balance of stuff that you needed to train a little bit more. You feel that you needed to improve on, right? If you had more time in the weeks leading up to it, you probably would have been 100% ready, right?
100%. And we did focus on the critical aspects. So it's like, do we train 2 days on the river, or do we train 1 day on the river and 1 day of parachute training? Because the parachute insertion went extremely well, and that was due to everyone, pilot included, being current. So we did invest our time wisely for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it just,
Yeah,
it just highlights that train as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just going to make now you've got all these things learned. You're just going to do a better job on the next one, right? For sure.
Yeah.
Was there any real, apart from the suit failure and the hypothermia issue and the super dangerous electrical storms, was there any like near misses or like literally, no pun intended here, bullets dodged as far as safety goes?
Not that I can remember. I hope the guys will correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but no, like as far as I know, and like that's all I have in my notes for the big ones. Other than that, like things went pretty well, and that goes for the first one too, really. Other than that one, scary bit in the canyon that I shouldn't have rafted. Overall, things went pretty well.
Well, that's good. Awesome. Well, man, like I said, the moment I watched this film, I was all over, reaching out, and I wanted to talk to you about this, and just getting you on to unpack the story has just been fascinating. And you need to do more of this. You need to do more filming. And oh, wait a sec, hang on. Max is commenting something.
Uh-oh.
What does he say? Every time we almost did something dumb that would have likely resulted in a near miss, one of the other three came up with a better solution. And there you go. Right? Teamwork. It really is a thing. Even if it's one partner, and in your case, you got a group of 4 guys. Unbelievable. The planning that goes into this is just, again, it's fascinating. The detail and the execution that you guys performed on this is out of just, it's mind-boggling for guys like me. Tell us about the future for Airborne Expeditions. What are some of the goals, and tell us what you can, if it's not a secret, as far as projects go.
Well, I would very gregariously make the statement that we now possess the greatest austere parachute capability that is in civilian hands in the world today, and we intend to use it, and we intend to get better at it. I would argue that we're better at austere parachute jumping than some militaries at a much smaller scale, of course, and we definitely intend to put it to use, and that will see us going to the Yukon for a spring bear hunt, God willing. And that's like going to be the main effort of 2026, with hopefully some stuff after that. But the main effort is expanding into the Yukon.
Well, let's put a place mark in the Spike Camp live stream catalog here to get you back on after that one. That'll be an amazing one. So that sounds fun, dude. Wow. Can't wait to hear about it. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to do, I just got a little bit of housekeeping here to do with regards to Spike Camp, and then we're going to circle back and close out. First of all, we're going to give away another Mountain Fuel bundle, which is provided by our buddies over at This Is Coffee, Wilderness Athlete, and Trail Fair Foods. And the winner, Blake drew a name from the list of attendees tonight. Caden Kwiatkowski, my friend, you have got yourself a little package. I'll reach out to you and get this sent off. Lots of people are asking me about the 2025 Story of the Year contest, if we've got a winner. I just want to remind everybody about how there was a tremendous amount of stories, and not only like lots of stories, lots of really, really good stories, very well written stories, just some amazing work from members putting them out. We have a panel of judges that are reviewing all of these stories, and it's taken a while. I've got some actual journalists, professional writers, Spike Camp members, non-hunters, some friends and family are all reading them and critiquing them for us, and it's going to take us at least another week. My plan is to do a dedicated live stream with a couple special guests, probably in the next 10 days, 12 days. I'll keep everyone posted on the platform. We're going to do a show, and we're going to announce who that winner is and give away that rifle system. The other thing I want to mention tonight, if you've been following along in the platform, if you're following Ed Thompson's thread on the donation rifle build, I would like to give you a couple of details about that. So here's the plan for that. If you've been watching this, then you can see this gun is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind piece. Ed is hand carving a stock. The build is provided by Don Lynham, all the components that went into it. Ed provided a Turkish walnut blank that he's hand carving. I'm doing a small part. I'm throwing in an optic for it. And we've teamed up together to provide the Wild Sheep Society of BC with this rifle to raffle off. This raffle is going to be called the Spike Camp Modern Classic Rifle. It's a Defiance Action, a benchmark carbon fiber barrel. Of course, it's got this beautiful piece of wood that Ed is carving for us, and then an optic. We're chambering it in 280 Ackley. This thing's going to be like one of the nicest guns you will ever see. There's hundreds of hours going into Ed's on Ed's part as far as the carving goes, and the raffle is going to be for the Wild Sheep Society of BC. 100% of the proceeds are going to go to them for their projects, and there's also going to be some bonus gear. We're not going to disclose what that is, but there's some really unique pieces going along with the rifle. The tickets for this raffle go on sale February 2nd through Wild Sheep BC. You're going to see it all over the internet. And we are going to pull the winning ticket during the Penticton Salute to Conservation. You're going to want to jump on this. There's a limited amount of tickets, and they are going to go fast. So just keep your eyes on the socials. We're going to be promoting the heck out of this. We want to raise some real money for sheep with this gun. And looking forward to it. So keep your eyes open. Anyway, that is it for our show tonight. Axel, thank you, and thank your buddies for coming on the show tonight and helping out in the chat. This is a fascinating project. I'm very excited for you guys, and job well done, man. What an amazing adventure.
Thanks, Chuck. I really appreciate you having us on. And I got to say, before I go, I really appreciate and commend you for what you and Blake, and I'm sure many others, have been doing with Spike Camp. And I have no doubt you're making significant contributions to conservation. But my intuition tells me that what you're doing with Spike Camp will play a very critical role in the future. And I think we're all going to be very grateful for the work that you guys are doing. And we already are, but I can foresee that this is going to be a necessary piece of infrastructure soon.
Well, man, we appreciate that. Like I've said so many times, you know, building this community has been one of the funnest projects, certainly the funnest thing I've ever done. And, you know, having Blake right there with me has been great. And the wild sheep and the hunting family and conservation family that we have out here is just amazing. And all we're just trying to be the nucleus to get everybody together, and we're going to keep on trucking. But thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. All right, folks. Thank you very, very much. We're going to do a little bit of post-production on this one, have it up on the podcast platforms and YouTube in a couple days. Make sure you check out Airborne Expeditions on Instagram. We're going to post something up. Blake will put something in the show notes. He also has... he's got a merchandise shop, so I'm going to hang up and I'm going to order a hat and a shirt tonight. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack.